A fragile democracy shattered. A military general determined to hold on to power.
He turned the country's armed forces into a terrorist organization. No principle at all, no regard for human life, no regard for justice.
6 months after the coup that shocked the world, Myanmar is in turmoil.
Definitely we're moving into a phase where civil war is very, very possible.
Hundreds have been killed and thousands arrested. But the people of Myanmar are not giving up. A new political force is emerging, fighting for a true democracy.
We had a failed political system. When the coup happened, it gave us a space to reshape our narrative, to reshape our future.
This battle is the last battle for us and for the country.
Our story starts thousands of kilometres away, in the suburbs of Melbourne, Australia. I'm on my way to meet one of Myanmar's most prominent journalists, a man determined to make sure the world knows what's happening in Myanmar.
My soul is left in my home country, even though my body is here. Since I landed.
A former political prisoner, Sway Win spent 3 years in solitary confinement for protesting against the military. Today, he is the editor-in-chief of Myanmar Now. His team of 40 journalists across Myanmar are in hiding, but they continue reporting.
At least 10 to even 20 million people are reading our website in the aftermath of the coup, actually. Normally, our traffic is about like 1 to 2 million visitors.
Myanmar Now's coverage is also catching the eye of those behind the coup.
The military generals have some sort of personal grudge against me, so they cannot touch me now. As long as I'm outside the country, I'm in a better position to manage the team.
So you're the general's favourite journalist?
Maybe, but I don't have any ill will towards them. We just want to see the country going in the right direction.
Since the coup, more than 80 journalists have been arrested, some of them tortured.
I am very concerned about the safety of our journalists. Very, 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 very much concerned.
Journalism in Myanmar has always been a high-risk occupation. 2 years ago, it almost cost Sway Win his life.
I was on a holiday to a beach. When I was coming out from a guest house, somebody shot at me, actually. Shot at the car. The bullet came, actually, to my neck. But fortunately, it went into the keyhole area of the car door, and then the bullet got redirected and then hit my leg.
Sway Win and his team had published a series of articles exposing the vast financial interests of the military commander-in-chief Min Aung Hlaing and his family. He believes the order to kill came from the top. Was that attack ever investigated?
Never ever. How can I find a police complaint when I suspect that the police were trying to kill me, the soldiers were trying to kill me?
His wife and daughter were in the car with him.
Yeah, sometimes when a car break, when she hear a very loud noise, she mistook it for a gunshot, actually. I don't want to introduce her to the brutalities, but I want her to be aware of all these events, even though she's young. She will grow up with some big memory of what was going on when she was 5 or 6. I think it's important
From his new home in Melbourne, Sway Win watched last November's elections with growing concern. The military-backed party was facing a landslide loss against the popular National League for Democracy. Sway Win and his team published an article stating a coup was imminent.
On February the 1st, when everyone was expected to be in Parliament and didn't turn up, this is how we knew that the military were taking over. It was all caught on camera by, allegedly, just your everyday exercise teacher doing her routine. And it was aired and spread out all over the internet as well as on television, making a very clear statement about the fact that the military were taking back control and they were doing it in a way that would instigate fear among the populace.
NLD အစိုးရရဲ့အဆိုပါမယိုမသားဒုဆောင်ကဲမှုတွေကြောင့်လက်ရှိကျွန်တော်တို့အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ဒီမိုကရေစီစနစ်ပေါ်မှာရိုးသားမှုများပြန်လည်ဖြစ်ပေါ်စေဖို့အကောင့်ထဲပေါ်ဆောင်ရွက်ခဲ့ခြင်းသာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
The coup leader Min Online said he launched a coup to promote democracy. We did a coup to promote democracy. We saved the country.
As a Burmese person who spent many years living there, I was shocked, but also I was scared. So many of us remember in our lifetimes what it was like to live under military dictatorship, and no one wants to go back to that.
Democratically elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and her inner circle were detained.
Even though we foresaw the signs of the coup, I was so shocked. I was struck with extreme sorrow. Not anger, actually. Sorrow for the plight of this country.
The coup unleashed mass protests across the country. Millions standing united against a common enemy, the military, and its commander-in-chief, Min Online. Led by Generation Z, the protesters demanded the civilian government be reinstated.
The previous 10 years have been really reformist. People have been able to have so many more freedoms and access to information and thoughts. They can think how they want, they can feel how they want. No one is telling them how to act or how to be.
When you look at these protesters, they're young. A lot of them are also females, and they grew up hearing these bad stories from my generation. They have had a taste of democracy and they don't want to lose it. And we're fighting for these young Burmese, their future.
They are the kind of generation who grew up with iPads on their lap. This kind of generation, I think the military, my view, is troublesome to their control.
I feel like it's very important for everybody to freely think, also freely criticize or freely express themselves in different means.
Before the coup, Binza Shunlei presented a popular youth TV show. She spoke at international summits alongside superstars.
She will succeed because she's just one of those people who doesn't know what it is to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, Binza Shunlei.
A prominent political activist, she soon joined the large crowds calling for the military to stand down.
We want our government back, and you are responsible to do so.
As the days went on, bolder demands for unity and true democracy, one without military influence, became the goal. Thinza Shunlei was forced into hiding.
Many young people were basically dreaming more than just to restore the civilian government or just to release the civilian leader. They were demanding for a bigger future, like to abolish the 2008 constitution.
"13 years ago, I was living in Myanmar, reporting in the aftermath of Cyclone Nargis. It was in this chaos that a much anticipated constitutional referendum was held. The generals promised it would be a key step in a roadmap to democracy. The Constitution, or the Green Book as it became known, enshrined into law widespread power and control for the military. It was democracy on their terms.
The 2006 constitution was always the main root cause of the problems in the country, because whenever we try to advocate to advance our freedom of expression or right to information, then 2008 constitution, state control, what should be there? It gave us a sense of false hope that we were going towards a democratic transition. When the coup happened, it gave us a space to reshape our narrative, to reshape our future.
With protests escalating, the military began turning its weapons on its own. On February 19, the first protester died.
Maptatoi Khan was shot in the head. She had her back turned to the police forces that were spraying water cannons and tear gas and firing initially what everyone thought were rubber bullets, but then it very quickly became clear that they were also mixing that with live rounds. The medical people cannot provide services because doctors and nurses who are trying to provide emergency medical care are also being shot at and beaten.
This is the most brutal military ever we could imagine. Even they were not in front of us, we just got killed by the headshot because they used snipers in the tall building to create fear, especially to create fear, to shrink our space, civil space.
The songs, artwork and memes of the Gen Z protesters fell on deaf ears, and sporadic internet blackouts hampered communications.
The country in the dark. These dogs with guns, they coming out of bark.
More than 900 people, including children, have been killed both on the streets and in their homes. Thousands have been arrested and many more are on the run. Despite a warrant out for her arrest, Thinza Shunlei continues to speak out.
We try our best to avoid the detection from the military, online and offline. They see people like us, like freedom fighters, talking about democracy and human rights, speaking truth to power. They find us threatening because we are with the principle.
I don't know democracy
သူတို့အသက်ခံရတာလဲကျွန်တော်တို့ပြစ်တယ်လို့ပဲမထူပါမထူ
ဒီလိုက်အောက်ချုပ်မှုအောက်မှာနေမယ်ဆိုရင်ရှင်းနေရတဲ့သေပြီးသားပဲဖြစ်နေမှာအဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့ဘာမှမထူညီမတို့နောက်ဆုံးကိုရောက်နေပြီနောက်ဆုံးကိုရောက်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့ရအောင်ကိုသွားမှာပဲရတော့မယ်
Oh no, they reloading their ammo. When you speak up, they gon' shoot you in the tango.
Among the soldiers themselves, there are those who disapprove of the military's brutality. 29-year-old former captain Lin Tet Ong left the military shortly after the killing began. He says around 800 soldiers have defected since the coup.
lifestyle တွေအများကြီးပျောက်ဆုံးတယ်ကျွန်တော်ရဲ့ life တစ်ခုလည်းပျက်စီးသွားတယ်ဘဝတစ်ခုလုံးကိုစတိခဲ့တာစစ်သားတွေအနေနဲ့လည်းတစ်ဖက်ကပြောတဲ့စကားပဲဒီဘက်ကလာတဲ့စကားကိုသူမသိဘူးအဲ့ဒါနဲ့ပဲအမုန်းကြီးများပြီးပြည်သူကိုမြင်ရတဲ့တပ်မဲဖြတ်မဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံတွေဖြစ်ကုန်ကင်မရာသားလေးပါမိကအိုင်လိုက်လက်နက်ကိုချပြီးပြည်သူဘက်မှာပေါ်လာအာနာရှင်ကိုရက်တီကျွန်တော်တို့ကအာနာရှင်ကိုရက်တီဖို့အတွက်ထောက်ပံ့ပေးတာတောက်တိုင်
Soldiers have to live in military camps and their families have to live in the military camps, and when the soldiers go outside, their families stay behind. And so they're basically hostages held by the military leadership to guarantee that the soldiers follow orders.
As the military digs in, a new political force is emerging.
The NUG, or the National Unity Government, have been dubbed the shadow government, but they would call themselves the legitimate government of Myanmar. They're made up of a group of National League for Democracy MPs and self-appointed MPs who were previously key leaders from civil society and the rights groups who were at the fore. Their role now is to challenge the military.
Lord Zimmer-on, thank you very much for talking to Foreign Correspondent. Can I ask, where are you tonight in our meeting?
Somewhere in Myanmar.
Somewhere in Myanmar. Foreign Minister Zin Ma-ong is a former political prisoner. She knows firsthand the brutality of the military. This is her first television interview. How long did you spend in solitary confinement?
9 years in solitary, totally 9 years in solitary confinement.
For protesting against the military?
Yes. So that's why I don't want the new generation to be suffer like what we were.
She says it was the Commander-in-Chief's personal ambition that triggered the coup.
Because he wanted to be a president, you know. It's very clear because of his, personal and, political interest. His own interest, now the whole country is now being destroyed.
The NUG has abolished the 2008 Constitution and is drafting a new charter. I just want to show you here, I have a copy here, if you can see. I can't read it.
You can see that the coup d'etat itself is not in line with the Constitution, right?
Sure.
So to abolish the 2008 Constitution is our political goal. I think the military coup is a challenge, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to restart political setting again.
The National Unity Government says it's the answer to healing this divided country of 54 million people. They're pledging equal rights for all the country's minority groups, including the much persecuted Rohingya. Why did the NUG choose to recognise the Rohingya?
Because it is the right thing to do. It is really vital role in order to bring different ethnic background to the same page, because Myanmar never had that kind of diverse cabinet in the previous government. It's not just only the political change, it's a change of thinking and a kind of social revolution, not just a political revolution. This battle is the last battle for us and for the country, whether we let military win or the democracy win.
But can the people of Myanmar defeat the most powerful force in the country? It's a question that lawyer Chris Sidoti has long wrestled with. He spent 25 years trying to improve human rights in Myanmar.
This is a military that has been in a constant state of war against its own people for 70 years now, since Myanmar independence. It's been able to do this because of its economic wealth. And we need to use every means possible to put pressure on the military to get back in the barracks. And the economic side of it is critical to that.
In 2017, he was part of the UN fact-finding team that documented human rights abuses by the military against Myanmar's ethnic groups, in particular the Rohingya.
And was there any more killing or burning during this time?
The team also uncovered the source of the military's power, a shadowy business empire owned and operated by the generals.
The fact-finding mission has concluded that they were not dependent on the parliament for their funding, that they had all of these independent means of acquiring wealth for corruption, but also wealth for their operations. And we think we barely scratched the surface, but certainly the scratching that we did revealed the extent of the tentacles of the octopus.
Two giant conglomerates are key to the military's wealth: Myanmar Economic Holdings Limited and Myanmar Economic Corporation. Together, they have more than 130 business entities. From mining to tourism, telecommunications to banks, transportation, and even beer. Funneling at least $400 million into military coffers each year. Both conglomerates are controlled by the military's top brass. The same people now in charge following the coup. But ultimate authority rests with the Commander-in-Chief, Min Aung Hlaing.
In my discipline speculation, the coup has been triggered by the threat to economic interests of the military and their families. So that's a real, core of it, that they don't want to be touched and they don't want to be diluted.
Since the coup, the military have now also taken over Myanmar's lucrative oil and gas enterprise known as Moji.
The coup has very significant economic implications, not just political implications. And Moji is the key to that. Moji is the principal generator of state revenue in Myanmar.
The US, Canada, UK and the EU have begun adopting targeted sanctions against the military. Myanmar's regional neighbours, including Australia, are yet to act.
The country is in crisis. It needs international support. It's entitled to international support. Cut off the arms supply, cut off the cash flow, cut off the impunity of the military.
As the international community deliberates, a nationwide civil disobedience movement continues. Led by doctors, teachers and other civil servants, it shut down most public schools and hospitals.
The Myanmar people don't want these criminals to profit anymore from the money that should be helping run the schools and the hospitals that they are supposed to be working at. They do want to bring the economy down to its knees, and they know what the consequences are.
A teacher for more than 30 years, Nila Win has joined the general strike.
ခံစားရပါတယ်ကျမတို့တကယ်ကိုနာနာကျင်ကျင်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်
Nilar is also wanted by the military and is in hiding. She says she won't go back to the classroom until the military is out of power.
အာနာဖီဆန်လှူရှာမှုကိုလုပ်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သူတို့တွေကကျမတို့သူတို့ကိုမလိုလားတယ်ပြီးတယ်သူတို့ကိုဆန့်ကျင်နေရတယ်ပြီးရဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျမတို့ကိုလက်လျှော့ပြီးတော့ဘောနော်ကျမတို့စီဒီကျမတို့အမှန်တရားတွေကျမတို့တရားမျှတမှုတွေပြန်ပေးမယ်လို့ကျမတို့ကယုံကြည်ပြီးတော့ဒီလှူရှာမှုကိုလုပ်တာပါရှင်
6 months on, a more deadly resistance to the military is now forming. A People's Defence Force. Young people from around the country are gathering in border regions to take up arms, to return to attack the military in the towns and cities of Myanmar. This former protester spoke to me from his tent in the jungle. In a dramatic escalation, they're assassinating police, military, and their informers.
Day to day, we are traumatized by all these bloody news. News of arrest, news of torture, news of killings. Without meditation, we can lose sanity, or we can break down, or we can get stressed very, very easily and lose our energy in our day-to-day work. I had a phone call from a colleague that the Honda's chief Myanmar's house in Yangon was raided. We are still trying to substantiate this. I'm not sure. There are a lot of rumors, in a chaotic country like ours. But sometimes these rumors turn out to be true. I wish this rumor became true news. Most of my colleagues are, in their 20s and 30s. They don't understand about the fear because they have never experienced what a prison is like, what the torture is like. So they don't know actually what to fear. I remind them, it's very dangerous actually, Our work is very dangerous. We are trying to do as much as we can to play our roles in fighting against the military rule, in giving a more honorable, a more dignified life to the future generation.